What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the Parrot Press. Today is going to be the first video where I talk about Sorare. We're going to be looking at the players that I've currently got, the cards that are in my gallery, the right here, the right now. Let's get into it. So let's start with the goalkeepers. Currently, I've got two rare goalkeepers in there. You'll see the limited there, but I won that a few weeks back, and I've just left it in the club just in case it becomes valuable in the future. But you'll see that most of my gallery is the MLS. I've got maybe one or two Asian players in there as well. Obviously, we're in the summer. I want to make sure that we've got as many players playing throughout the summer so that I can get some threshold and some rewards, etc. And the two goalkeepers that I've got here are JT and Joe Willis. Calling him JT because I don't really know how to pronounce his surname, so let's just stick with the easy one, right? Now, the reason why I've got JT is because he's got some good all-around scores. Now, he's not decisive heavy. It's not, 2 out of 3 clean sheets in a row, but he's a guaranteed starter. He's about 25 or 26, so I've got a lot of utility with him, and I think that he's a decent goalkeeper who could potentially even get to transfer to a better club in the MLS as years go on. And the second one that I've got there, so that's a bit of a new addition. It's Joe Willis, and you'll probably see in his recent games he's not been too good. He's made a few mistakes, and as this just sort of loads up here, you'll be able to see that his SO5 scores have almost plummeted in the last few games. But he's a very, very solid keeper, and Nashville in the last couple of seasons they've actually been really, really solid. As you can see here from his scores, touching the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, etc. But when we look down here to these 24, 16 and 20, didn't even play, he got dropped on one of them. But I think that he'll come into a bit of form. Nashville started their season and they had a whole bunch of games that was away from home. So defensively, they probably was a little bit nervous. And I've got him in here. We've got a few home fixtures coming up, and I'm hoping that he can turn it around. We'll see. I don't think that he's at risk. As I said, there's been a lot of chat on Discord and Twitter and things like that around, is he going to lose his place? Personally, I don't think so. He's been too solid over the last few years in the MLS to all of a sudden just be dropped. So they're my two goalkeepers. Let's take a look at the defenders. And what you'll see is that I actually like pairing a goalkeeper with a defender. So let's talk about the first San Jose player, or should I say the second, which is Calvo. And I just picked up his super rare recently. Actually, I did have his rare a few weeks ago, but sold him so I could get some other plans in progress. But I picked up Calvo. I think that he's a very good defender. I think he's 29 at the moment. He's got a bit of international utility as well, and they've just qualified for the World Cup, so it gives me some utility in November, December. I don't expect them to get out of the group games, but you never know in the World Cup. You never know with Costa Rica, as they surprised a few people a few competitions back. And what we can see here is that he can peak a little bit. He can get the 98s, the high 70s, the 80s, and he didn't play here because, as I said, he was on international duty. But that doesn't really worry me in terms of the DMPs, because before that, as you can see, he's playing 90 minutes week in and week out, and he does pop up with the high score. If we just look at his L40 from his all around scores, he is at like 17, 18, which is okay. It's just updated, so around the 16 mark, which is decent. And obviously, if he can get that decisive, then fantastic. On top of that, but if they do get a clean sheet, then it puts me in good stead, because obviously I've got him paired with JT. Going back to the gallery, the other pairing that I've got to go with Joe Willis is Zimmerman. Now, when I first come onto the platform, I was thinking, who's the best MLS goalkeeper? Sorry, not goalkeeper, defender. Who's the best in the league? And he's won the award in the last two seasons, I believe. And it was this guy. And originally he was so expensive. If I just go back to 6 months here, basically when I come onto the platform, he was up at the 0.7, and that was when ETH was worth a lot of fiat as well. So he was never going to be in my plans to get him in, but he has dropped down. That's probably because of form, and Nashville haven't been great, as I said. in the last few weeks, but they have got some great fixtures coming up with DC United, Portland, Charlotte. All right, Sounders and LA is not great, but then it goes back to Cincinnati, Portland, Toronto, etc. So I think he's got some good scores, and anybody who understands the MLS knows that Zimmerman is a top quality defender. And he's, got a goal in him, he's got assists in him, etc. So the only reason he's got DMPs here is because he had some international duty. But I expect that pairing between Willis and Zimmerman to bring in a good few clean sheets over the next few game weeks, and potentially, over the season as well. The other ones to talk about here, we've got Lovitz, who is another Nashville. By the way, I'm not a Nashville fan. Obviously, I'm going to follow him now because I've got these players in. But Lovitz is in there as a cheap option. It gives me a bit of depth if I'm one player missing and I need somebody in to get a lineup in. The other rare that I've got there before I come on to these two super rares is this guy Hong Jung-un, I think you pronounce it. And as you can see, I got him here for 0.08, and his floor is 0.26. Now he is a fantastic player. He's 27, and he already is racking up some great scores. If I just scroll down here, once it gets going, and we'll just see this 100, 85, 90. He got 100 today. This is where he's coming into form. Even previously, I mean, the reason why I picked him up is because I think I picked him up after this 85 because I looked at some of his all-arounds. Which were, brilliant, 25s plus, etc. But then I went back a little bit further to look at when he was regularly playing around his all-arounds as well. He got a 38 here, a 20, a 21, a 34, a 29. So it's a player that when he plays, not only is he young, not only is he in a decent side, and he actually plays in the middle of a three. And I actually quite like that as a defender because Zimmerman's the same at the moment. He plays in that centre, and once they get it, they can pass it out to the right centre back. They'll get it back, pass it out to the left. And the way that obviously Sorare do their scoring system, all those accurate passes add up and boost up to the score. So I think he's great. And if he's super rare, if I had probably a little bit more ETH in the bank, I would more than likely try and pick up his super rare, to be honest. What is it, 0.9? It's not the most expensive in the world at the moment, but I think you can get some good utility out of this guy, and the club itself is actually playing well in the K-League. So yeah, a good one to watch out for. And again, I think he's going to go through the roof, hopefully to the 0.5s, 0.6, maybe above, but it's not financial advice. Do your own research on the player, I would say. Now, the other ones that I want to talk about here is Mabiala. The reason why I've got him in is because I had Ivasic actually a few weeks ago. I replaced him with Willis, hence only seeing Willis as a goalkeeper along with JT for me. But Portland have been pretty poor defensively all year, to be honest with you. They weren't good. Ivasic was kind of in and out of the team. It's always a risk, and I just want a goalkeeper that plays week in and week out. They're so expensive on the game from a rare point of view. So I just wanted a keeper that will start for me. But as I said, prior to that, I brought in Mabiala because I wanted to play All-Star Rare and All-Star Rare Pro. And he was a cheap, as you can see here, I mean, he's on the floor price there, is 0.08, which is very, very cheap for a super rare, being that he's 34 as well. But when he plays, he is pretty decent as well. He will just be there as a backup for me now that I've picked up Calvo. The other one there is Boxall, and for those guys who watch So Rare Data's podcast and YouTube videos, this is where I first kind of heard of Boxall, and it was almost like that impulse buy because they was bigging him up a little bit. And since I've bought him, I'll show you exactly kind of where I picked him up in terms of scores, was around just after he's 79 maybe, and then he didn't play, 20, 33, didn't play, and 39. So yeah, not doing great, but he does have some good scores in him. He's a threat inside the box. He is decent. he is a decent player, but maybe not playing in a decent team at the moment in terms of form. They look okay-ish going forward, but hopefully he can pick up some form, and all I need is that sort of spike and things to align, and then I'll be getting a good result in All-Star Red Pro, hopefully, along with Calvo and JT. So let's take a look at the midfielders that I've got in there now. So I've only got 3. Again, ignore the limited guy. I just won him and he's just sitting there rotting away at the moment. Hopefully I can pick up some other limited cards and get involved with the Europe once that's European leagues when they kick off. But to talk about these 3 guys, we've got Pereira, we've got Acosta, and we've got Pedro Santos there. Pedro Santos, for the guys who are aware again of the MLS, this guy is 34 now, I believe. He's a midfielder card on the game, but he actually plays left back, and he's a threshold, king. Really, he has that chance of spiking, but at the same time, he just hits 50s and 60s each week. So that's why I've got him in there as that sort of cheap backup option. But talking about Acosta and talking about Pereira, they're both number 10s. They like to get forward. They take set pieces. I think both of them are captains of their side. And as you can see here, they've been in great form this year. And they get some good AAs as well. On top of their decisives, obviously that's when you get that big spikes up to 90 and to 100 points in a game week. So it kind of makes sense to have them. I think I've already made a bit of profit on them. I don't really see, maybe it's age, I'm not too sure, but I don't really see how Acosta is actually double Pereira in terms of price, or at least what I paid. But as you can see here, again, consistency from Acosta. I like him. He looks good on the ball. He's exciting to watch. And Cincinnati are actually better this year, which is good. Good to see, and good competition in the MLS. So yeah, he's in. They actually play each other this upcoming game week, so it'd be interesting because they're going to be putting different sides for me about who comes out on top. I think it's probably Pereira, to be honest, but I'm probably going to captain both of them, and see how they get on. And lastly, let's talk about forwards. So I've got 3 forwards, and as you've probably seen, I'm only playing 2 lineups at the moment, so it gives me that extra forward in case I need it, the extra midfielder, but more than likely I'm going to try and boost her up with the extra defender, depending on game weeks really, and what the defences are like for these attackers and who they're facing. So first off, we've got another Nashville player. I might as well just get a shirt on the wall, right, of Nashville at the moment. Originally, it started with Seattle when I was in the limited side of things, and I had limited stacks of Seattle, and I was following them and watching their games at like 3 a.m. in the morning, laying in bed. But, gone are those days at the moment. We've got CJ. He's been decent this year. Again, all of these are not really sort of AA players. They're more decisive, as you'd expect from forwards. The ones that do have higher AA, then you are looking at obviously playing premium prices for them. But as we can see here, when I just load up all of their SO5 scores, we'll be able to see exactly how they've got on this season. So if we take a look at Sapong here, you can see again he's had these few spikes here where he scored 1 or 2. In the last year he scored 16 goals, had 7 assists. So he starts every game as well, and that's what you want as a forward. You don't want somebody who's coming off after 50 minutes all the time. I want somebody who starts. I want somebody in a decent side with a good number 10 or good wingers around them to feed them the ball. And with Nashville, you've got Mukhtar behind him as well. So hopefully they continue to have a decent partnership this year. And then I picked up Quieto as well for Montreal, and he's been decent as well. All right, last game he was sub, but I think that was because he was coming back from international and he might have a little bit of a knock. But he's good to go for this weekend. But apart from that, he picks up the goals. He takes some of the free kicks and penalties as well, which I'm a big fan of. I want forwards, I want midfielders who take set pieces. Absolutely, it just gives them another chance of a decisive. Of course, it does. But I do like Quieto for the price as well. Just be careful if anybody is thinking about picking this guy up. There are midfielders and forward cards out there, So make sure that you pick up the correct position that you want. And I would say that a forward is the best one to pick up there if you do like the player. And then lastly, this is a new pickup for me as well. Even in my Seattle stack, the limited stack, I didn't have Morris. I had Rui Diaz, but obviously there's a massive price difference when you talk about limiteds and rares, so I couldn't really afford Rui Diaz. I picked him up here when he hit this 60. So two consistent games here. You had the DMP in the middle, because again I think it was international duty, and they wanted him fresh for the LA game, and he's got some good fixtures coming up, as you can see here, against Kansas City and Montreal and Toronto and Portland, etc. I see him getting some goals there. Rui Diaz is actually out for a while, so I expect Morris to play almost the 90 minutes. As we can see here, he played 88. Sometimes he comes off at around about 70, 75, as we can see kind of around here. But I expect him to play. And actually, this game here against LA, let's just take a look at this actually, because he set up 2 glorious chances for people. Yeah, big chances created is 2 there, and attempted assist is 5. 2 of those should have gone in. I don't know how they didn't. The finishing was so poor. I think Rusnak was one of them. I can't remember who the other one was. So again, that would have really boosted his score up. Of course it would have done. And I expect good things out of him now. He had a massive injury last year, and he was just coming back with all these low scores. But yeah, I see him doing some good things. Hopefully he does, because he's going to be on my lineup the weekend. So that's where I am at with my gallery, guys. I just wanted to give you a video as to the players that I've currently got there and what my lineups are going to look like over the next couple of weeks. As I said, that I'm going to be playing the All-Star Rare division, and I'm also going to be playing All-Star Pro, Rare Pro division as well, with these 2 sides. Previously, I was playing like 4 or 5 different divisions with limited cards, and I had different stacks going on, etc. But sold all of those to get into the rare division to get the thresholds going. And I'll probably do another video in the future, just how I transitioned from limited to rare and why I done so. They've actually released some good new divisions at the moment, specialist and underdog, I think, for limited cards. But rare is where I want to be at, and hopefully, in time, moving up to the super rares and getting more of those in the club. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. If you like the video, again, do all of that stuff that everybody else says. Like the video, put a comment, share, and all of that, and subscribe. But yeah, if you do subscribe, thank you very much. If you like the video, thank you very much, and I will see you in the future.